Another stumbling block that people sometimes hit is knowing the difference between an absolute URL and a relative URL. And generally speaking, 90% of the time, we'll be using relative URLs in connecting our documents. So we build web pages and then we put those together into a website, and then that's all in like some sort of a folder. And so we have a folder with all these different pages in it, like each of my fingers is a page in this example. And as we reference things from one page to another page, as we reference something from one page to another page, or from one page to a folder, right, where there's images, we're just going to say, okay, in that folder where there's images from this page, how do I get to that folder, and what's the path? What's the path to that folder? And that's relative. So relative to where this page is at, where am I, in relation to this folder, and how do I get there? All right, best thing to do is to see it in action, and then we'll come back here and we'll take a look at what this means right there, right? You could read through that, pause the video right now and read through that, but we'll just make sure we covered this. By those definitions, all right, because there's two things there. So here's a O11 and relative versus absolute URLs, and I'm going to come up here and just click that little button there, or alternatively I could just click on project, and that opens up and closes that side window as we've seen, and that just gives my code more room to look at right here. All right, so here we have the relative, and here we have the absolute, and you can see the relative is like that, right? And so it's like, okay, relative to this file, which is the file we're looking at, how do I get to the pick folder? And the pick folder and that file are on the same level. And so you just say, well, go into the pick folder and then come to this, right? If I had another page, right? Let me create another page, and we'll call this users. Maybe this is like the users logged in area, and then create a new HTML file, and we'll call this user profile. We'll call it profile. So this be like their profile page. And then inside here, if I wanted to get to that picture, right? Well, that's inside picture, so I want to display an image. And so I'll do image and then hit tab. And now it's asking for the source. I need to go up a level. And so that's how I go up a level right there. And now I could go into pick. And now I could go into whatever the name of that picture is. So I could hold down control spacebar on my keyboard, control spacebar, and it says this is what's in that folder. I could have done that right here too, control spacebar, and it's like, which one do you want, index, pick, or users? And so that's kind of a cool thing, control spacebar, and then I could just select it and then select it. And so that's how I would get there relative to this file. That's how I get to that image, those dots. And then I could just preview that and make sure it's working. And it's like, sweet, it's totally working. And so that's the relative. So the idea is relative to a file, where is the other resource I want to access? Or relative to a resource, another way to say it, where's the other resource I want to access, right? Just trying to select multiple things at once. Ah, there we go, this command. And then an absolute URL, or absolute reference, is like this, right? Where you have the domain in front of it. You have the domain in front of it. You can also do absolute references right from the root of your site. So that's the root of my site. So I could also do it like this, right? That would be an absolute reference. One more absolute reference. From the root of my site, go into the picture folder and then go into that. And that's, like I said, the best way to do it, the way we use most of the time, is this relative reference. So relative to one file, where's the other file? Relative to one resource, where's the other resource? And an absolute can be either starting like, hey, what's the absolute resource on the web? Meaning it starts with the protocol, and it's like this is where you go to get there, or what's absolute on the server. And I didn't put the absolute reference in here because that, depending upon how your environment is set up, that won't necessarily serve. It won't work, and so I just didn't put it in because I don't want people to download it and have it not work. Okay, so here's the description I put together for each of those. Within one domain website, relative to one resource, where's the other resource? And then I have that example there. And I think I'll put in that other one right here too, so we could just have one more with the dot. And then the absolute is for a full URL like this, or from the root of the site, where's the resource? And then I just put in the documentation here from MDN, right? Describing what I just told you and gave you an example of that one right there. So And you can look at this file, that folder right there, to see the files I just showed you.